You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
The views expressed by the individuals during this broadcast are their own opinions, and they may not be the same as those of their group or other organizations they may be involved with.
All medical advice during our broadcast is not a medical opinion and should be checked with your medical physician.
Oh yeah, baby, that's lovely.
Good morning, it's July the 18th, and welcome to Psychedelics and Cannabis Educational News. We're live here at paceradio.net. Good morning, Glenn. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great, Al. How are you?
Not too bad, not too bad. Can't complain, you know.
It's summer in Canada.
It's summer in Canada, you know, it's either sunny, cloudy, or rainy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what we got. At least I'll say it's warm. It's nice and warm.
It's nice and warm. Correct. How's the bike riding?
Not very good. I can't ride. I have no back tire. I'm just waiting for a new one to come in.
Oh, so that's what happens when you do. What's that happens when you do burnouts with your bike?
Yeah, that's me. Burning out everywhere. No, I guess I'm just too heavy for the bike. I'm weighing it down and wearing out my tire.
The tire, right? Yeah. Well, it's just that time, probably. It's due, right?
Yeah. It's the original tire on the bike, and it's got 18,000 miles on it now. So.
Oh, okay. Yeah, she's due.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah. All righty. What do you say we get on with the news?
Sounds good to me.
All right. First story of the day comes to us from StratCan. It says adverse reports associated with cannabis declined for the third year in a row.
The number of reports received by Health Canada of adverse reactions associated with cannabis has declined for the third year in a row, which you just said. The majority of those reports are associated with legal cannabis products, which also declined in the past year after an increase in 2021.
Of the 159 reports received in 2022, 92 were unique cases associated with legal cannabis products. In 2021, there were 260 reports, 174 which were associated with legal cannabis products. In 2020, there were 287 reports, 159 which were associated with legal cannabis products. In 2019, there were 219 adverse reaction reports to Health Canada's Canada Vigilance database, with 151 associated with legal cannabis products from medical and non-medical supply chains.
This sounds to me like just people are getting a little
Too
more
high.
used to it. Yeah, they're used to it, and they're understanding it a little better.
That's what I would say. Yeah, learning curve.
The majority of the reports in 2022 come from the cannabis license holder. On the adverse report cases related to cannabis in 2022, 40% involved males and 28% involved females, while 51% involved cannabis used for medical purposes, as self-reported. As in the previous years, the majority of cases, 53%, involved ingestible cannabis liquid extracts, that is, ingestible cannabis oils and soft gels. That's where you can get into problems, and that's probably what people are getting used to now.
Yeah, I completely agree. However, when looking at only reports associated with legal products, 47% were associated with inhalation, while 46% were associated with oral consumption. 3/4 of these reports were considered serious. According to Health Canada, a serious adverse reaction is an adverse reaction that requires inpatient hospitalization or prolongation of existing hospitalization, causes congenital malformation, results in persistent or significant disability or incapacity, is life-threatening, or results in death. They say the most common reported symptoms were headache, seizures, hallucination, trouble breathing, and drug effectiveness.
I'm really curious as to how many people were hospitalized before it was legalized.
Yeah,
Uh,
because well, these numbers you'd have to do the math, but these numbers do because they do say that of those, so many were of legal products.
okay, so the other ones I'm expecting come from the black
Yeah,
market.
like yeah, when I go, yeah, exactly. That's the way I'm looking at it. Or people created the product themselves because they say here, like in 2019, there were 219 adverse reactions with 151 associated with legal cannabis products. So that tells me right there about 70 or 68 of them were from other sources.
Yeah, yeah. There's also one suspected case of vaping-associated lung injury that was reported as involving a legal cannabis product in 2022. There were 2 cases in 2022 associated with legal cannabis products that resulted in fatal outcomes, although one of these was connected to a case in 2021.
Fatal.
Yeah, I don't know. I've never
I
heard of it.
don't know. I haven't heard anything about anybody dying in Canada. I just know that was the lady that had the asthma condition, and it was the dust, um, and she died.
Wow.
Yeah. I know of that one. Yeah. That case in 2020, as also reported as part of 22 results involved 2 cannabis vaping products with other concomitant
Uh,
medications in a patient with complex medical history and several risk factors who experienced seizures, which led to hospital admission and death.
wow.
Health Canada notes that while the use of cannabis vape may have caused an initial seizure in the patient, it was less likely to be the cause of death, which was likely due to a streptococcal infection, of which the
Yeah.
source was the temporary hemodialysis line placed in the patient to address deteriorating kidney function. So the medical equipment,
Yeah,
you got a staph infection.
it sounds like the vape caused a seizure, which sent them to the hospital, but they died of a staph infection. That's what it sounds like.
Correct. Yeah.
Uh, the second fatal case reported received in 2022 was connected to a single ingestible cannabis oil product used for medical purposes, such with an authorization to treat symptoms related to arthralgia, which is joint stiffness. Health Canada notes that the individual had a complex medical history and was using multiple concomitant health medications in addition to the cannabis product, and assessed the event of seizure as possibly related to the cannabis product, while the outcome of death was associated, as assessed, was unlikely. Well, they're completely guessing on that one.
Yeah, unlikely. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. They're
All
just
right.
basically
Yeah.
saying
'Cause they,
they think it was associated with that, but
yeah, it sounds like not sure.
yeah,
Man, could be. They use those words a lot.
yeah, of course.
All right, on to the next story. This one comes from Nature, and the headline says, Your Brain on Shrooms, How Psilocybin Resets Neural Networks.
Taking psilocybin, the hallucinogenic compound found in magic mushrooms, temporarily resets entire networks of neurons in the brain that are responsible for controlling a person's sense of time and self. Finds a study that repeatedly imaged the brains of 7 volunteers before, during, and after they took a massive dose of the drug. The findings, published in Nature in 17th of July, could offer insights into why the compound might have a therapeutic effect on some neurological conditions.
Researchers saw such massive changes induced by psilocybin that some study participants' brain network patterns resembled those of a different person entirely, says Shan Siddiq, a psychiatric neuroscientist at Harvard School of Medicine in Boston, Massachusetts. He says, I've never seen an effect this strong. Most
Wow.
of these changes lasted for a few hours, but one key link between different parts of the brain remained disrupted for weeks.
And psilocybin is one of several psychedelic drugs, including LSD, ketamine, and MDMA, also known as ecstasy, that are being investigated as therapies for conditions such as depression and post-traumatic stress disorder. Despite promising data that have sped treatments towards approval, researchers still don't fully understand the mechanisms that underline the therapeutic effects. Many studies have investigated how psychedelics affect individual cells, but Joshua Siegel, systems neuroscientist at the Western University School of Medicine in St. Louis, Missouri, took a broader approach to look at how psilocybin affects networks of neurons across the whole brain.
Siegel and his colleagues tracked activity in the brains of 7 healthy adults before, during, and after they took a high dose of psilocybin. The researchers used functional magnetic resonating imaging to obtain images of blood flow changes in different parts of the brain, a proxy used to measure how groups of neurons across the brain communicate with one another. The researchers compared these MRI scans with images of the same participants' brains when they did not take any drug or when they took a stimulant. They found that psilocybin caused groups of neurons that normally fire together to become desynchronized. These effects were localized to a group of brain regions called the default mode network, which is usually active when the brain is at wakeful rest, for example, during daydreaming, rather than focusing on a task. Although most of the neurons in this network seem to get back in sync once the acute effects of the the psilocybin had worn off, the communication between the default mode network and the brain region called the interior hippocampus, which is involved in creating our senses of space, time, and self, was diminished for weeks.
Oh, that's cool. The researchers also found that mental exercise called grounding, which is commonly used in psychedelic therapy to dampen the unpleasant effects of a drug by diverting the recipient's attention to their surroundings, diminished psilocybin's effect on the brain, and suggests there could be a neurological signal that grounding techniques can influence, Siegel said. Although past experiments have also found that psilocybin disrupt brain networks, this study provides a deeper resolution and insight into the nature of that disruption, says Brian Mather, a systems neuroscientist at the University of Maryland School of Medicine in Baltimore.
The approach was unusual. The researchers honed in on a smaller number of participants that are typically recruited for brain imaging studies, instead opting to scan each participant about 18 times, creating a mountain of data that the authors could use to support their conclusions. Mather cautions that these data cannot show what precisely causes the potential therapeutic benefits of psilocybin, but they offer tantalizing clues. He says it's possible psilocybin is directly causing the brain network changes, or perhaps it is creating psychedelic experience that in turn causes parts of the brain to behave differently.
Sadiq agrees, adding that it will be useful to untangle whether psilocybin's blood flow changes in the brain, which is measured by the MRI, or its direct effects on neurons, or both, are responsible for the brain network disruptions. Siegel hopes to conduct further experiments to investigate the effects of psilocybin on the brain of people with conditions such as depression. The best part of this work is that it's going to provide a means forward for the field to develop further hypotheses that can and should be tested, Maher said.
There you go.
Interesting.
Yeah, interesting. Exactly. Watch that on the MRI, how everything is moving around.
Yeah, I'm really, I want to find out the results of this in the end. Might be years by the sound of it.
Yeah, exactly. And as they investigate this further and further. So, all right.
And can we use it to influence one part of the brain? If we wanted to change something in that part, or open up a new
more
pathway.
targeted.
Yeah,
more targeted. Exactly. All right. On to our next story of the day. And this one comes to us from The Atlantic. And the headline on that says, Congress accidentally legalized weed 6 years ago.
Drive through Durham, North Carolina, where I live, and you might get the impression, not where I live, where the author lives, the impression that cannabis is legal here. Retail windows advertise THC in glittery letters and neon glass, and 7 pointed leaves adorn storefronts and roadside sandwich boards. The newest business near my house is the Stay Lit Smoke Shop, where an alien ripping a bong invites you to use the drive-thru. In fact, neither medical or recreational cannabis is legal in North Carolina.
Oh.
Technically, we're getting high on hemp.
Oh, okay. This is probably not what Congress had in mind when it passed the Agricultural Improvement Act of 2018, commonly called the 2018 Farm Bill, which made the production of hemp cannabis, traditionally a non-psychoactive cousin, legal for the first time in nearly a century. Lawmakers who backed hemp legalization expected the plant to be used for textiles and non-intoxicating supplements such as CBD oil and shelled hemp seeds. They didn't realize that with some chemistry and creativity, hemp can get you just as high as the dankest cannabis plant. The upshot is that although recreational cannabis use is allowed in only 24 states and Washington, D.C., people anywhere in the U.S. can get intoxicated on hemp-derived THC without breaking federal law. These hemp-based highs are every bit as potent as those derived from cannabis available in legalization states. I know this because I've tried recreational cannabis in California and Colorado, as well as 11 different hemp-derived products legally available here in North Carolina. I'm not exaggerating when I say that they are indistinguishable in effect. In other words, 6 years ago, Congress inadvertently legalized cannabis across the entire United States.
To understand how that happened, we need to review some basic botany. Hemp and cannabis are varieties of the same plant species, Cannabis sativa. The chemical compounds unique to Cannabis sativa are called cannabinoids. Scientists have identified about 100 naturally occurring cannabinoids, which fall into two broad categories, those that get you high and those that do not. Cannabis, also referred to somewhat confusingly as, marijuana, sometimes confusingly referred to as cannabis, is defined by its high content of delta-9 THC, a cannabinoid that gets you high. Hemp contains very little delta-9 THC, but can contain a large amount of cannabinol, or CBD, a cannabinoid that does not get you high.
Congress effectively banned both plants varieties in 1937 with the passage of the Marijuana Tax Act, which erected an impossible set of regulatory standards for buying and selling any type of cannabis sativa and imposed stiff criminal penalties for noncompliance. When the Supreme Court overturned the law in 1969, Congress responded with the Controlled Substances Act of 1970, which explicitly outlawed both hemp and cannabis, along with a host of other drugs.
The push to legalize hemp emerged in the 1980s, thanks mainly to cannabis enthusiast and head shop owner named Jack Harar. Harar claimed that the federal government had targeted hemp because its textile applications threatened politically connected magnates, including members of the DuPont family, whose company developed nylon, and William Randolph Hearst, who Harar alleged had been heavily invested in the timber industry, which produced his newspaper stock. Harar, who published a book with these allegations in 1985 titled The Emperor Wears No Clothes, insisted that hemp could replace plastic and timber in many applications for less money and without harming the environment. Harar's book laid out the basic strategy for hemp advocacy. Instead of arguing for personal freedom, hemp supporters could focus on eco-friendly textiles and nutritional values of hemp seeds. And beginning in the early 2010s, CBD oils and anti-elliptic and anti-anxiety properties.
You know, the best way to remember Jack's last name is think terror, but hair.
Error.
Yeah. He died in 2010, but the movement he started achieved its victory with the 2018 Farm Bill, which legalized industrial hemp production. Donald Trump's signature on the bill was like the shot from a starter gun. The previous year, under a small pilot program, American growers had planted 25,713 acres of hemp, according to a crop report from the advocacy group Vote Hemp. After the Farm Bill, the group reported more than 200,000 acres of hemp planted. Most of that crop was destined to be distilled into CBD, with varying degrees of supporting evidence. Producers marketed CBD as an organic supplement for anxiety, sleep, and joint pain. The compound picked up celebrity endorsements and made its way into balms and dog treats.
CBD was seemingly everywhere, but it wasn't everywhere enough for the hemp industry, which was after big brand synergy. The real money would arrive when processed food conglomerates began adding it to ingredients lists. Hemp entrepreneurs dreamed of Walmart aisles stocked with CBD-infused Red Bull cans. It didn't happen. Big brands and retail chains wouldn't invest in CBD without FDA approval, and the agency had declared shortly after the Farm Bill signing that it couldn't regulate CBD as a supplement for food or food additive because it was being used as the active ingredient in a new drug application. By late 2019, it had become clear that the FDA wouldn't budge from its position, and hemp prices cratered. That's the industry's explanation anyway. Another possibility is that the growers oversaturated the market with a product that consumers eventually realized didn't have much effect. Either way, the CBD boom had gone bust, and hemp became a buyer's market for anyone who could find another use for biomass and distilled oils. One possible market was hinted at in the Farm Bill itself.
The 2018 Farm Bill defines hemp as the plant Cannabis sativa L, and any part of that plant, including the seeds thereof, and all derivatives, extracts, cannabinoids, insomers, acids, salts, and salts of insomers, which, growing or not, with a delta 9 THC concentration of not more than 0.3% on a dry weight basis. Translation: as long as your plant and whatever you make it contains less than 0.3% delta 9 THC, you can do what you want with it. Given that cannabis plants typically run closer to 15% THC by dry weight, 0.3% cutoff seemed logical on its face, akin to 0.5% alcohol threshold for non-alcoholic beer. But Congress was not up on its cannabinoid research. In March of 2002, the famed Israel chemist Raphael Mechoulam, who first synthesized and identified THC in the 1960s, had filed a patent application with two colleagues for converting CBD oil into THC delta 9 and a lesser known but similar intoxicating cannabinoid called delta 8. That breakthrough was purely academic at the time, given that deriving THC from hemp was just as illegal as growing cannabis, only more complicated. However, after the 2018 Farm Bill and the late 2019 collapse of the CBD market, it took on enormous practical implications.
According to the plain text of the Farm Bill, it appeared to be legal to convert CBD into delta 8 THC as long as the process started with a plant that contained less than 0.3% delta 9, an interpretation that was eventually endorsed in a ruling by the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals. It's unclear who first noticed that loophole, but delta 8 began appearing in news headlines in 2020. Once word got out, the industry response was enthusiastic. We got so many calls from farmer after farmer saying, I have so much crop just waiting to be sold. Chris Carzan, the founder of Carolindica, a Raleigh-based dispensary, told me there was an amazing opportunity for all these extractors. Everyone was just trying to dump stock.
As a state-approved hemp processor, Carolindica doesn't synthesize cannabinoids. Instead, it turns cannabinoids into products, edibles, tinctures, and even pre-rolled hemp joints, smokable just like old-school cannabis. The company ships to all 50 states and accepts all major credit cards. The arrival of players like Carzan forced a reckoning in the hemp world. Now, according to Jody McInnes, executive director of the Hemp Industry Association, he says that for 25 years we wore shirts that said "rope, not dope," but out of left field, those products emerged because the market is a force of nature.
Hemp-based intoxicants aren't limited to delta 8 THC. The Farm Bill also appears to authorize the creation of hemp-based delta 9 THC products, as long as the total delta 9 content is 0.3% or less of the product's dry weight. This turns out to be easy to do. Carolindica for instance, sells a 10-gram gummy that contains 30 milligrams of hemp-derived delta-9 THC, which is exactly 0.3% of the gummy's total weight. The Florida-based company Crispy Blunts sells a cookie that weighs 22 grams and contains 50 milligrams of delta-9 THC. At 0.23% by dry weight, that's well under the Farm Bill's threshold, but the total THC content is 5 to 10 times as high as the legal per serving limit in many of the states that have legalized recreational cannabis edibles.
Oh, interesting.
Mm.
Estimates for the size of the hemp-derived cannabinoid industry are in the billions of dollars. Hemp-derived intoxicants are available at vape shops and gas stations. Craft beer stores, shops in North Carolina sell sodas infused with hemp-derived THC. States in which recreational cannabis is legal have imposed various regulatory limits on its sales. Not so with hemp-derived cannabinoids. According to the report from the CBD Oracle, 17 states normally banned hemp products as of 2023, but no one can stop deliveries from out-of-state producers, and state-level restrictions are likely preempted by the federal farm bill. Judges have blocked such bans from going into effect in Maryland, Arkansas, and Texas.
Wow. The seemingly overnight ubiquity of hemp intoxicants is a source of anxiety for the cannabis industry. If two companies are selling essentially the same product, and one is limited to in-person cash sales of highly taxed products at rightly zoned physical locations, while the other can advertise on Instagram, have access to the financial system, and ship to all 50 states, which company will still be around in 5 years? Cannabis Guys thinks this isn't fair. Carson told me, we don't have to pay 16% excise taxes. We can use banks. We can accept credit cards, and we're federally legal. That's what I don't understand. These guys can take credit cards. And as soon as I saw that in the story, I was going, what? Because nobody can take credit cards.
Yeah, exactly. And just taking a look here, this is going to keep going for a bit. I'm just going to slide down. These issues have been brought together. Some truly strange bedfellows. They say in March, the group of 21 state attorneys generals, including the progressive Bob Banta of California and Trumpist Chris Kobach of Kansas, wrote a joint letter demanding that Congress amend the definition of hemp to clarify that there is no federal hemp intoxicants loophole. Accordingly, in May, the House Agriculture Committee adopted an amendment for the next farm bill banning hemp-based cannabinoids. Whether that makes it into the final bill is an open question. The amendment drew the ire of not just the hemp industry, but also the wine and spirits wholesalers of America, which has joined the marijuana industry in calling for the regulation, but not prohibition of hemp-derived intoxicants. Perhaps the best evidence of how the fight will play out comes from legislative battles at the state level. In early June, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis launched a political action committee to fight a state initiative that would legalize recreational cannabis. That very same week, he vetoed a bill that would have restricted hemp cannabinoids in the state.
He's fighting the opposite. Wow.
Yeah. So there you go.
That's a great story. I had no idea that they were legally allowed to take credit cards and use banks. Imagine that.
Well, because the farm bill made it legal.
But
so because it's legal, the banks can do it.
The exact same thing that people that are selling cannabis are doing, but cannabis people can't accept credit cards. They can't use the banking system. It's insanity. And I'm whether this gets changed or not depends on how much money someone put into other people's campaigns.
May very well, as we're seeing. Yeah. All right. On to the last story before we go to break. And this one comes to us from the SF Gates. California University wants to build a rooftop garden taking psychedelic drugs.
Wow. A gentle LA breeze floats through the wall of green plants as you watch a butterfly flap its wings in the air. A friendly person hands you an ecstasy pill over the sound of gently gurgling water. It seems like a dreamy psychedelic party at a hippie's house in Venice, but this is actually part of UCLA's version of a new plan to build a living laboratory. The university is hoping to build a plant-filled rooftop garden designed specifically for psychedelic-assisted therapy sessions.
Psychedelic-assisted therapy, in which people take drugs such as MDMA under the supervision of psychiatric professional, has generated intense interest at universities across the country. The therapy has shown promise in treating a wide range of mental health disorders, including depression and post-traumatic stress disorder. UCLA is a leader in this research, with nearly a dozen different ongoing clinical trials studying psychedelics, including work with MDMA and psilocybin, which is in magic mushrooms, according to the UCLA Health. The new living laboratory has been proposed on the 8th floor of the university's Semel Institute for Neuroscience and Human Behavior, according to a presentation given to the university in May. That must be a drawing of it.
Yeah, and it looks to be like a fair size here.
It sure does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
The
Helena
living
Hansen,
laboratory.
yeah, it's a pretty cool picture. If you go to this story, it's pretty interesting what they're doing here. Helena Hansen, the Institute's director, said in a Monday story published by the university that the lab was part of an audacious vision to reimagine medicine at UCLA. The news story said the outdoor garden will help the university study how interacting with plants and animals in the living laboratory might affect traditional and psychedelic therapy sessions. The university said it is still raising funds for the project and did not give a price tag for the outdoor garden in its Monday story. Current plans for the outdoor deck include group areas and private rooms, as well as garden of native plants aimed at attracting butterflies and birds. Jennifer Wolch, the UC Berkeley professor, said during the May talk that the university is intentionally hoping the garden cultivates soothing sounds like birdsong, insect noises, and/or water features that have gentle water sounds, as well that can be very relaxing.
Researchers believe that a person's surroundings affects the success of psychedelic therapy, and increasing attention has been paid to creating a soothing environments where these cutting-edge therapies can take place. Kelly O'Neill, professor at New York University and expert in psychedelic-assisted therapy, said during the May presentation at UCLA that she was extraordinarily jealous of the rooftop garden proposal because it was much more welcoming than the clinical rooms she has worked in.
O'Donnell said the university is being really thoughtful about what the space into which a person will return after they've gone through a psychedelic trip.
There you go. End of the
Interesting.
story.
And it tends to make sense to me. The more comfortable you are, the more comfortable you are.
Yeah, exactly. Because if you're all worked up and nervous or got anxiety over it, maybe your therapy session will go the wrong way.
And that's the purpose that's the reason most of these people are there, because they have anxiety or PTSD or other things like that.
Yeah, exactly. All right, well, it's medication time. Time to take a break. We'll be right back after our joint session. You're watching Psychedelics and Cannabis Educational News here at paceradio.net. You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net. Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, open Monday to Friday from 10 till 7 p.m. or by chance. Check out our flags, our t-shirts, plus our hats, and look of that supply of rolling papers, plus much more. We've got bongs and your favorite herbal vaporizers. Look at all the incense we have, as well as for those who collect knives, check out these knives in our collection. And while you're here, stop in to see Shay at the piercing room, where you can get poked by Shay. Daily deals, check them out. Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, 17 Bridge Street West, Campbellford, Ontario.
When you have a pain that's reached its peak, Legacy for 20, it's so unique. If organic cannabis is what you seek, here's your trusted partner 7 days a week. Suppository salves, vapes and drops, topicals, edibles, infused pop. Just when life seems like it ain't easy, at Legacy 420, enjoy a pop freezy. Lab tested products, make them the GOAT. Legacy 420 out on your road. Legacy 420 and Tyndonega Mohawk territory. Indigenous organic cannabis at its finest.
What do you find at paceradio.net? People advocating cannabis education.
Limestone City Hydroponics is Kingston, Ontario's hydroponics shop. Take your growing to the next level and create the optimal environment with a tent kit, or maximize your yield with an ebb and flow flood table kit. Either way, Limestone City Hydroponics has more sizes and options to fit your needs. Are you looking for the power of the sun that adapts to your budget? Then look no further, as they have professional grow lighting. They have indoor grow systems that are easy and cost effective, with many options to fit your living space and lifestyle. Cultivate your growing potential. We have everything you need to succeed. And if you can't make it to the store, they offer local delivery to the greater Kingston area. Remember, when you're looking for experts to help you grow, then look no further than the locally owned Limestone City Hydroponics, 105 Sunderland Drive in Kingston, Ontario. Call them at 613-548-0420. You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net. And you're watching Psychedelics and Cannabis Educational News. We're back from our break. We got more news to bring to you. Just so you know, Glenn, that latest ad, the newest ad that we're running there, the singer in that ad is Steve Mather here at the network.
Oh, wow. Awesome.
He sings that. He sings the commercial for that. For At Ease. So, alrighty, on to the last stories of the day, and this one comes to MJ Biz Daily. Headline says half of eligible cannabis social equity retailers in Illinois at risk of losing licenses.
And 5 years after establishing one of the first state-run social equity programs, only half of Illinois' eligible cannabis retailers are operational, according to data analysis by MJ Biz Daily. Dozens of licensees who have yet to open their businesses are facing the real possibility of losing their conditional licenses, as expiration dates on those permits sunset this month and in August.
Despite that reality, the state last week touted Equality Ventures, which operates as a dispensary Champaign, as the 100th social equity retailer to open its doors in Illinois. Now, according to Mario Tretro, he's the secretary of the state's Department of Financial and Professional Regulation, says in an announcement that 100 dispensaries owned by social equity applicants is a testament to the hard work by the administration, lawmakers, and stakeholders in ensuring we create a process that's accessible to everyone, no matter their gender, race, or where in Illinois they call home.
Meanwhile, recent state data and interviews with local social equity applicants, license holders, paint a different picture. According to the IDFPR, statistics through June 21st, 103 conditional social equity retail licenses have received so-called 1536 permit, a state requirement to sell commercial or medical cannabis.
That leaves at least 96 licensees still awaiting final approval, the majority of whom already have seen their deadline to open pass. More than 2/3 of conditional licenses, 63 of them, were set to expire on July 11th, according to MJ Biz Daily Research. Another 14 are set to expire July the 18th, which is today.
However, it is likely that some lottery winners received an extension from the IDFPR, as public information from state data often lags internal updates. Illinois lawmakers in late May failed to reach a compromise on a wide-ranging bill that would have extended those deadlines, and it appears regulators will not greenlight a blanket extension. Why not?
Yeah, why not? Now, Chris Slabby, spokesperson, says that per the Cannabis Regulation Act, All conditional adult use dispensing organizations license holders will have up to 720 days from the date they receive their conditional license to find a location and become operational. The department has communicated reminders to conditional licensees regarding their deadline. So they received a license, but they haven't opened their business yet. So why haven't they opened their business?
I think a lot of these are social equity. They don't have the cash. We've read a few stories about this. Some of them claiming that they need up to $100,000 to actually open a store.
Oh, I wouldn't doubt it. Yeah.
Most of these social equity license holders, they don't have that kind of cash. Investors concerned build-out challenges and years of litigation that stymied retail rollouts across the state ultimately led Juan Aguirre and his partners in Illinois Kindness to seek an exit strategy before launching their retail concept. Aguirre told MJ Biz Daily last week that regulators had approved the sale of the company's retail license for more than $2.5 million to Consume Cannabis Co., a cannabis multi-state operator with retail operations in Arizona, Illinois, Michigan, and Ohio.
Due to Illinois social equity stipulations, when Aguirre applied in 2019, he wasn't eligible to qualify as a majority owner, so he had to seek other partners. He says, "That's why I didn't maintain control of this license, which he acquired frustrating a journey as a novice in the industry nearly 2 years ago, along with other social equity licensees facing challenges nationwide." So it's also the process is a problem.
Of course, it's paperwork and paperwork. It's everything to do with the government has always had this. I really do blame Illinois for putting me in this situation with the license. Investors, he said, went with the safer bet, and that is the only sure way that the investors are going to recoup the $500,000 they put up for payroll and application fees and all that. See, $500,000 they put up. And this is not even the hardware of the store. This is not the store. You know, it's crazy.
Now, in Illinois, retail licenses can be sold or transferred only after stores are operational, inspected, and approved for by state regulators. Last year, Illinois Kindness entered a managed service agreement with Consume Cannabis to essentially take over construction and operations of the retail space and retain revenue and profits.
In October, the MSO announced the grand opening of the store, its 6th in Illinois and 14th in the United States. The temporary location is Antioch, less than a mile from the border of Wisconsin, one of a handful of states without regulated medical or adult use cannabis. And that's probably why they're right there.
Yeah. They say additionally, the store is located inside a shipping container, which reflects the difficulties cannabis operators face finding real estate zone for cannabis businesses. Aguirre considers the setbacks another lesson learned as he seeks out social equity licenses in other markets.
I take it all as a big learning experience, even though I didn't get to operate the facility in Illinois on my own, said Aguirre, who is helping other social equity hopefuls as a board member of the Los Angeles-based National Diversity and Inclusion Cannabis Alliance, as well as his own consultancy. Social equity retail licensee Mahaj Sudamaji Bortosek has defied the odds.
After winning a prolonged court battle to gain entry into the third round lottery, she won 5 conditional retail licenses in September 2022 in 4 of Illinois' 17 designated cannabis business regions. Her retail chain, High Haven Cannabis, opened its first store in Chicago's suburb of Darien and another in the central Illinois town of Normal. A third outlet is slated to open next month in Elgin, a Chicago suburb.
And the entrepreneur who qualified as a social equity applicant because of a cannabis-related offense credits her experience in the industry, deep community connections, and investor ties for the ability to open quickly. I have a question, though. She received 4 licenses. Why? I don't understand that.
The draw, I guess. And obviously she had investors, which makes a difference. If you don't have investors, you got a license, right?
Yeah. If I didn't have the rich history of doing this many, many other times in multiple states, for a large MSO, I don't know if I would have been able to navigate the space as well as we have and have these stores up and operational, said Bortosek, who held various roles in grassroots cannabis before Chicago-based company was sold in July 2020 to Curaleaf Holdings in an estimated 700 million.
Yeah, okay. During her tenure, she helped Grassroots open more than 40 stores and a few cultivation sites in 11 states. So there you go, experience. She also, her and her management team attracted investors and leveraged previous relationships in certain municipalities, find available real estate, sold equity in the business, and access construction and convertible loans for build out and funding operations.
And I bet you 90% of these social equity license holders would never get loans from banks to do
Yeah, she's got a background in it.
Yeah. High Haven, unlike many social equity retailers that are operational in Illinois and other markets, did not partner with an MSO. We are very strategic early on about how we wanted this to happen, Bartosek said. The company was granted a 180-day extension from the IDFPR for its 2 remaining conditional retail licenses in Carbondale and the St. Louis region, where it plans to sell or transfer the license to another operator.
Yeah. You know, being in the industry in the past helps with the connections. People would know her, so on and so forth. So, yeah,
I just wondered, because she's
see.
social equity license holder, how come she got 4? Isn't there 3 other people that could have those licenses? It seems weird to me.
It sounds like it was done in a lottery.
Yeah, but I think every person should get 1, not 4. That's kind of strange to me.
Yeah.
You know, how many people were harmed?
Maybe it
by
depends on how many
jail?
people applied and all that. Yeah, you don't know. There could be more people applied than licenses that are available, right?
Yeah.
So, all right, on to the next story we go. This one comes from Calgary Herald. The headline says Calgary-based cannabis company announces another round of layoffs as the industry continues to struggle.
On Tuesday, the company, once known as Sundial Growers, said it's trimming 100 full-time positions, the latest slim down for the firm and one in a long line of such moves within the Alberta-based legal cannabis sector. In a press release, SDNL said the restructuring project is aimed at reducing corporate overheads and improving the efficiency of its organizational structure to position the company for future growth.
It goes on to say the effort is expecting to result in $20 million in annual savings, driven primarily by the optimization of corporate overhead spending. The restructuring require a one-time investment of $11 million over the next 18 months. The restructuring will consolidate the company's operations in a single unit, said Zachary George, CEO of SNDL.
We are committed to enhancing our organizational effectiveness by streamlining processes while leveraging technology and automation, he said. While licensed producer SDNL is also one of the largest cannabis and liquor retailers in Canada, operating outlets such as Value Buds, Fire Sale Cannabis, Spirit Leaf, Ace Liquor, and Liquor Depot.
Wow. According to its U.S. securities filings, the companies and its subsidiaries employ 2,500 people as of the end of December 2023. And in February of last year, SNDL announced it was cutting 85 jobs.
That followed another blow to Alberta's cannabis industry when Edmonton-based Aurora Cannabis trimmed 12% of its workforce in June 2023, a restructuring effort after announcing it was closing 3 of its facilities. Those job losses in the industry extended outside Alberta when Canopy Growers of Smith Falls, Ontario, announced in February 2023 it was laying off 800 employees, 35% of its workforce, and shuttering its facility formerly at a Hershey plant.
Silly me! I thought the story was over, and I was.
Oh.
But I got it. I got it back. Okay. I didn't realize. Yeah. Now, did you get to that paragraph? Those in the industry say high rates of government taxation and regulation, along with still a thriving black market, stifled the sector ever since 2018. but there have been some admissions that some companies have overextended themselves in the industry itself with the massive glut of cannabis on its hands, which has dramatically lowered product value and led to a destructive price war.
Last March, the final report and review of the Federal Cannabis Act was released, but many in the industry say that its 54 recommendations and 11 observations fall short of ensuring their problems are addressed. The review panel encourages the federal government to review its excise tax model, which was created at a time when the price of dried cannabis flower was significantly higher than it is today.
But the president of the Cannabis Association of Canada, which represents licensed producers, says he's seen no indication that will happen anytime soon. According to Paul McCarthy, he says, we are 5 years into a period of retrenchment. A lot of these companies are down to the bone. There is hope.
Oh, sorry.
Okay. Yep, there is hope if the government comes to realization that if this sector stands a chance, things could change, or things need to change.
The federal excise tax, producers are effectively paying 30 to 40% tax on their product, which is ultimately ruinous when the cannabis has gone from $10 a gram to around $3, he said. While they're plus 30 to 40% tax on anything is theft. That's all it is.
Yeah.
While there are many wildly optimistic speculative investors who jumped into the industry at the start of legalization, most of those are long gone, said McCarthy.
The people left are sophisticated players and they can't make it work, he says. That's according to McCarthy. Governments must also crack down more seriously on illicit operators, they say, whose market share is difficult to calculate, though some estimate place it at 40%, according to McCarthy.
This is the same thing they've been facing since day one. The government taking way too much
money,
costing everybody.
Yeah, and that cost, it gets transferred down to the consumers.
It does, and we've seen prices fall, retail prices fall, and they knew this was going to happen. Once you produce something to a certain extent, prices have to fall because now it's industrial instead of just mom and pop, growing 10 plants.
Yeah,
so they knew this was going to happen, and the federal government from day one has treated this as a cash cow, and that's all it is to them.
Yep. And our next story, this one comes to us from Cannabis Business Times, and as the headline says, 30,000 plus comments submitted on DEA's proposed rescheduling rule.
With 1 week left in the public comment period on the Drug Enforcement Administration's proposed rule to reclassify cannabis to Schedule III drug under the Controlled Substances Act, 30,640 comments have already been submitted. More than 1,100 comments were submitted in the past 3 days, and nearly 3,000 in the past 7 days. The notice of proposed rulemaking was published by the Department of Justice, which oversees the DEA, in the Federal Registry on May 21st, stating that the 60-day comment period, which ends July 22nd, in the notice, U.S. Attorney General Merrick Garland proposed rescheduling cannabis and solicited comments on preliminary findings. The CSA requires that changes to a drug schedule be made through formal rulemaking on the record after opportunity for hearing, but has not been able to confirm whether or not requests for hearings have been made, and if so, whether they have been granted.
Yeah, that bit in the paragraph there is letting us know that CBT has been doing some more research on things. Now, according to the Morgan Lewis law firm, they say, although not required, the DEA administrator may grant an in-person hearing and select an administrative law judge to preside. After review of the record, the ALJ then provides their recommendation to the DOJ, which makes the ultimate rescheduling determination. The notice of proposed rulemaking came after the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services recommended to the DEA that cannabis be moved to a Schedule III classification.
While CBT was not able to read the tens of thousands of public comments, It reviewed a significant number of them. Many comments voiced support for rescheduling. Many others stated that rescheduling falls short of ending the societal harms that would continue under Schedule 3, and that cannabis should be descheduled. Others oppose rescheduling with reasons ranging from the cannabis is a gateway drug theory to claiming harms to society related to cannabis use disorder and impact on use, stating there is no currently accepted medical use. That's because they put it in Schedule 1.
Now, Dr. Peter Grimspoon, a medical doctor and well-known cannabis advocate, wrote in his public comment. This is Dr. Lester's son. He says, I am a primary care physician and cannabis specialist at Harvard Medical School. I have written and spoken extensively about medical cannabis during my 25-year career as a doctor. I strongly believe that cannabis should be descheduled, not rescheduled, as it is markedly less harmful than tobacco or alcohol, which, as you know, are descheduled. And as it has fairly vast therapeutic use in alleviating cruel symptoms of various diseases such as chronic pain, insomnia, anxiety, nausea, and vomiting, weight loss, the harms of cannabis have been greatly exaggerated during the war on drugs. Were not harmless, example, should not be used by patients with a history of psychosis, pregnant women, or teens. It is certainly considerably less harmful than all of the medications that are currently in Schedule 3, and less harmful than many, if not most, of the medications that are less rigorously scheduled, such as Ambien and which are aspirins. I do view rescheduling as a step in the right direction. Thank you. P.S. I wrote a recent book on this topic, which is comprehensive and fair to both sides.
And U.S. Cannabis Council Executive Director Edward Conklin submitted his comments in a 5-page letter to the DEA administration and Milligan, applauding the historic action taken by DOJ and DEA to move cannabis from Schedule 1 to Schedule 3 and the historic shift away from the failed policies of the last 50 years. Today, state medical and recreational cannabis businesses directly employ more than 420,000 Americans and have created over $33 billion in economic value, Conklin wrote.
As the HHS concluded, after a rigorous scientific review by the Food and Drug Administration, cannabis does have currently accepted medical use and treatment and much lower potential for abuse than these and other comparable substances, including in scheduled alcohol. He wrote, referring to other substances in Schedule 1, such as heroin, LSD, and ecstasy. He later noted that HHS review of cannabis schedule found that cannabis had lower potential for abuse than alcohol.
Since 1996, 38 states, the District of Columbia, and 4 federal territories have legalized the use of medicinal cannabis, Conklin wrote, in recognition of the critical therapeutic benefits that safe medical cannabis from regulated state dispensaries provides. In each fiscal year since 2015, Congress has passed an annual appropriations rider, commonly referred to as the Rohrabacher-Farr Amendment, that includes a provision prohibiting the Department of Justice from expanding any funds to enforce the Controlled Substances Act against medical cannabis businesses or patients in these jurisdictions. He pointed out that the National Institute of Drug Abuse agreed with HHS findings and recommendations.
The rigor and depth of HHS recommendation cannot be understated, he wrote. In addition to numerous clinical and preclinical studies, HHS reviewed data from numerous federal databases, including the National Survey of Drug Use and Health, the Behavior Risk Factor Surveillance System, the Researched Abuse, Diversion and Addiction-Related Surveillances Systems, non-medical use of prescription drugs, and the Nationwide Emergency Department sample. HHS also relied on FDA's comprehensive review of data submitted from practitioners and regulators in state medical cannabis programs. HHS also reviewed a large volume of data collected from regulators, practitioners, and patients in states where medical cannabis is legal. Now, Glenn, just so you know, this story is huge.
Okay.
And we're not going to get to the end of it. But let's go slide down. You'll see there is a spot here. It says in conclusion.
Holy smokes, it's long.
Yeah, exactly. Second last paragraph. So in conclusion, you see it there?
I got additional comments. I haven't got there yet.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, like it's huge. So let's just say the story is available at our Facebook page, and people can go there and check it all out. But 30,000 submissions is, hey, it's not hundreds and 200,000s or anything, but it's more than just a few.
I found it really funny that someone was in their letter to them was saying that it has no medical use because it's on Schedule 1 and it's a rescheduling thing. So I found that really weird.
All right, now there's one story we didn't get to today, and I'll just flash the headline up there so people can see what it was, and that is that Snoop Dogg opens first pot shop and launches 2-pack cannabis line. So Snoop Dogg has got a self-cannabis store.
He does.
So there you go. I don't know. It'd be interesting. We'll have to maybe look at that on Monday's report and see what's going on with Snoop Dogg.
I'm just wondering if he's one of those social equity license holders.
Well, I hope not. The guy's got all kinds of money.
Oh, I know, but it doesn't have to do with your money. It just has to do with your past criminal involvement with cannabis, right?
It'd be interesting. Yeah. I look at that as a money thing as well.
I don't know if he's ever been charged with anything cannabis related, so don't take it as that.
No. Yeah. I think maybe he has. And his buddy there, Wiz, he just got busted in Romania. So, all right, that's it for today. You got anything else you want to mention?
Peace.
All right, from the Legacy420.com news desk, that's our Pace News report for today. And for our buds at the Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, Limestone City Hydroponics.ca, Legacy420.com, and AtEase.com. In closing, we'd like to say thank you for watching or listening. Plus, don't forget to educate, medicate, and do not incarcerate. You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
The opinions of the individuals during this broadcast are their own, and may not be the opinions of their group or other organizations they may be involved with. All medical advice during our broadcast is not a medical opinion and should be checked with your medical physician.
When you have a pain that's reached its peak, Legacy for 20, it's so unique. If organic cannabis is what you seek, here's your trusted partner 7 days a week. Suppository salves, vapes and drops, topicals, edibles, infused pop. Just when life seems like it ain't easy, at Legacy 420, enjoy a pop freezy. Lab tested products, make them the GOAT. Legacy 420 out on your road. Legacy 420 in Tyndonega Mohawk territory. Indigenous organic cannabis at its finest.
Enjoy the buzz of legalization with Campbellford Lifestyle Shop. From lights to plant nutrients, books, consumption accessories, and more. We've got all your basics to grow or consume cannabis. Visit our info center or take a look at our piercing services and body jewelry, now available in-store through Campbellford Lifestyle Shop. 17 Bridge Street West, Campbellford.
Limestone City Hydroponics is Kingston, Ontario's hydroponics shop. Take your growing to the next level and create the optimal environment with a tent kit, or maximize your yield with an ebb and flow flood table kit. Either way, Limestone City Hydroponics has more sizes and options to fit your needs. Are you looking for the power of the sun that adapts to your budget? Then look no further, as they have professional grow lighting. They have indoor grow systems that are easy and cost effective, with many options to fit your living space and lifestyle. Cultivate your growing potential. We have everything you need to succeed. And if you can't make it to the store, they offer local delivery to the greater Kingston area. Remember, when you're looking for experts to help you grow, then look no further than the locally owned Limestone City Hydroponics, 105 Sunderland Drive in Kingston, Ontario. Call them at 613-548-0420. We are people advocating cannabis education here at paceradio.net.